What is up, Dodgers Nation? It's your boy.
It is your boys.
You have to do it that way. Coming at you live from DNHQ in beautiful South Pasadena, California. This is the Blue Heaven Podcast. And where's my button? Oh, there's that button. I want a couple of coins in there. I'm Clint. You can find me as RealFRG on the Twitter and on the internet machine known as Instagram.
That is the internet machine. Mm-hmm. And I am Brooke. You can find me as BrookeMe3 on Instagram and Twitter. And you can also subscribe to this podcast, this Dodgers Nation podcast, on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, pretty much anywhere you can find a podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just Google us. You know, it's super easy.
You'll probably find us.
And of course, as you guys know, watching over here, you can watch and interact with us live every Tuesday night. Periscope and Twitter, because they all own each other. Facebook Live, Twitch, YouTube, and soon enough we're finally going to get back on Instagram. We can't let Mr. Bergman have all the fun with that. And of course, find all of our magically delicious content on DodgersNation.com. Before we get started, though, also hit us up in the comments. We're going to be hanging out with the comments. Send us some area codes and all that. We want to shout you out. Let us know where you guys are watching this and representing Dodgers Nation this evening. Big stuff, fun stuff. Spring training is less than a month away now?
It is officially less than a month away, even though I think pitchers and catchers have not officially been announced still.
They still haven't, but I think they're like just saying, yeah, whatever. It's going to be the 12th.
Everyone knows the day.
I'm seeing 12th. I'm seeing Tuesday. So I'm in. I'm on board. I will be there. I'm going to just show up and start throwing the ball and see.
You're on the team.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to do it and see if they'll pick me up, you know?
I think your chances are pretty good.
Yeah.
You got a mean movement on your ball?
No. I got a mean movement in like the joint of my shoulder. That's definitely a big problem.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. So on today's show, we will be graced by the presence of sports writer and author KP Wee. He's going to be joining us here in studio to discuss his book. You guys will see here on the live stream on the table, 1988, Reliving the Championship Season. Other news, of course, being Yasmani goes out, or was it Grandal, as brought up by our crack producer team.
Yasmani drop ball.
Yasmani Grandal. Yep. He's out. Martin comes back home. We're going to examine the offseason a little bit. But first, let's get into some open forum questions. I already seen one person asking, should you guys be drinking live? Absolutely. We're responsible adults.
I think, were they encouraging it there or discouraging? I can't really tell.
Or is it drinking to live? Yes. But I see
to live,
Scotty Cat 1818, what's going on? Twitter 562, Coach Robles, what's happening? 808 Hawaii, what's going on? We got some North Carolina. 305 Miami. Ooh, 626. 305. Yeah, 626 San Gabriel. You guys let us know what you want to talk about. I'm sure there's plenty of people wondering thoughts and all that about Russell Martin coming back home. I don't know. Plenty of people have to be old enough to have lived the Russell Martin experience.
Yeah, unless you're very, very young. I don't even know what age that would be. I kind of lost track of the years.
They all mesh together. But Russ is coming home. Our producers are
telling us 9. I don't know what that means.
You have to be 9. You have to be 9 to know Russell Martin. I guess that makes enough sense.
That's about right.
Math.
Yeah.
So I never did math.
Logan Jones, he is reminding me that Tim Locastro got dropped by the Yankees.
I would pour one out if we weren't here in our beautiful DNHQ.
He's going to be a Giant, so it doesn't matter. We're not getting him back. Sorry, guys.
I said that to you on Twitter.
You did. You were right.
Like Farhan missed his opportunity when he got traded to New York, but I think he's going to pass through waivers this time and all that. He's going to be a free agent. Minor league free agent.
He'll make it over there.
San Francisco, he's going to hit like 49 home runs for the Giants next year.
Yeah. He's not going to steal any bases.
No. Well, I think that's the problem for him, too, is that he doesn't have his, now that Grandal's gone, he doesn't have his designated pinch runner guy.
That's true. There's no one to run for now.
No one to run for.
Unless it's pitcher. So we got Oxnard in the house. Brian Montoya, Oxnard. Bend, Oregon, Mark Adams. Bend, Oregon.
So YouTube, Social Splitter, or SoCal Splitter. I guess he's got a mean splitter. Yeah, you don't see as many good split fingers fastballs anymore. But Chino, California. Coach Robles is saying Harper. Anyways, love Russell Martin to platoon with, I'm assuming he means Keibert Ruiz. I would like to not see Ruiz in a platoon situation that early in his career.
No.
I honestly think Ruiz is a 2020 guy. If he sees any time in the big leagues this year, something went really wrong, or he just tore the cover off the ball. But if I'm not mistaken, he didn't have a good first go-round. Did he make it to AAA, or is that Will Smith?
No, you're thinking of Will Smith. No, actually, I think Will Smith. Neither of them have made it past AA. They both played AA ball, but even then, they didn't look. For somebody you'd expect to see up in the major leagues next year or hope to see, they didn't hit like they should. You should be hitting like 325, 350, and dropping some bombs out there if you're going to be called up. But no, they didn't at all. Even at AA.
They've got a little way to go, and that's fine. And that's why we brought back Russell Martin. So there we go. CJ, I am excited on YouTube. I'm excited to see Russell Martin back in Dodger Blue. And that's one of the things I notice. A lot of people still have Martin gear, whether they're jerseys or shirzies. There's a lot of Russell Martin gear still in people's closets.
I was amazed. I got a bunch of responses of people sending me pictures of their jerseys. I was like, man, you guys are loyal.
Yeah, they didn't make them that big. They didn't have the giveaways that big for me. I'm sorry, guys. This is real messed up. What up with that, Sujo? Even though you're not in charge.
She picks the sizes.
SD Dodger, what's going on, Tim? He says Smith sucked in AAA, so there you go.
He's talking about me.
We'll give him a point. Yeah, this guy.
Yeah, I did suck at AAA.
Let's see. So I do want to, if anybody wants to know more about, Grandal, because he's obviously been in the news a little bit. He talked about why he didn't sign up or why he didn't sign in New York with the Mets, and it's because he's got to respect the game and the numbers and the people who said that how the hell did he say it?
He basically said he wanted to set the stage for the younger generation behind him. He had so much respect for the older generation before him that got paid what they were worth, but ultimately he figured if he took that smaller contract, and that would kind of change the landscape for the guys coming up, and that they would accept smaller annual averages like that, which basically just means his agent screwed up and he's not that good at his job. And it's the Mets, so maybe he dodged a bullet. You never know. It's the Mets. They all get hurt all the time.
Too soon on that one. I would say I'm struggling here with things in my way, but he definitely missed the bus on that one. Granted, like I was talking before the show, he is an upper echelon catcher for sure, despite what we all believe. However, you got to take that kind of money, because now you've settled for what is it, a 1 year, $16 million deal with a $2.5 million buyout, which, I mean, I'd take it personally myself. I would take it.
I would consider it. Yeah.
So he has the option, or there was the buyout or the mutual option for another $16 million season,
which he will decline.
Yeah, he will.
When's the last time he died, or just just completely bombed?
I don't have. Let's see. What do I have?
I
have that. There you go.
I think even the season he just had with the Dodgers. I mean,
if
you cut that in half, he'd probably still.
I cannot remember the last time any mutual option has gone through.
Oh yeah, especially since they're 9 times out of 10 lower annual average than the rest of the contracts. No, it just doesn't usually work out. It is good for both sides though, for player and for team, organization, what have you.
Periscope, Hemi Drahem. I'm sure I nailed that. When LeBron's healthy, the Dodgers are going to be tough. I agree.
He's right.
It's
right.
LeBron is going to nail threes all day long. That's a 3-point home run. I think that's what it is. Yeah, 3-point home run in the paint.
He'd be huge on the field.
3-point home run for real.
Be like Aaron Judge out there.
Actually, yeah, he's a little bit shorter than that fella. But Russell Martin, getting back to him, Martin's coming back home, and there's a nostalgic factor again. He's one of our homegrown pups. He also hit 194 last season.
He'll also be 36 in a month.
Yeah,
there's that.
So happy birthday.
The good news is the Blue Jays are covering $16.5 million of his $20 million contract or something like that. They gave up 2 relatively unimportant minor leaguers that are pretty unproven and didn't really, blow anybody away the last couple of years.
Yeah, they didn't rate anywhere high.
Not
on
at
any
all.
lists.
I think the most amazing thing about Russell Martin, though, if you look at his stats, do a deep dive into his stats, he's a weird freaking player. He reached base 34% of the time the last 2 seasons, despite hitting 208, which is that's Austin Barnes numbers. Let's call it what it is, bad year Austin Barnes numbers. He ranks in the top 10% in pitch framing, which is, the Dodgers are notorious for going for catchers like that. He still managed a positive, 1.3 WAR in 2018, even though he slashed 194, 338, 325. It's the weirdest thing. He just got on base so often that he was valued. By OPS standards, he hasn't been a league average hitter since 2015, though.
Yeah.
By OPS plus standards. So take with that what you will. But you were talking about how you think change of scenery is going to end up being pretty good for him.
Oh yeah, him coming back home I think is in a play up. You saw what it did for Matt Kemp last year, and you're going to see a lot of the same sort of thing with Russell Martin. You want to come home. He has an opportunity here. He might be able to get another year or two contract somewhere if he plays well enough.
Right.
Even though I firmly believe he's going to be a 2 or 3 month buffer before we see Will Smith catching some games, and at some point they're just going to be like, hey, do we want to take the somebody who's going to catch and throw the ball very, very well, which, as they say, back in the olden times, defense wins championships.
I've heard that several times.
I've heard that.
Every coach I've ever
They
had.
knew about it here in this year, the year of our Lord, 1988. It was a fine year for you, wasn't it, Brooke?
It was, yeah. I was
-5. Proud of you.
and that was a good time.
You're going to age yourself right there.
That's actually almost. Yeah, you're right. Actually, yeah.
Mindy on Twitter saying, I better start hearing some big friggin' names being announced to the lineup soon. Spring training is coming, and I still need justification for the Kemp, Puig, Wood, Farmer trade. I'm very happy that she did include Farmer in there, by the way. What the hell is going on?
The Kyle Farmer trade.
And sorry, I'm never hating Russell Martin dues paid. I think you're right up there with just about everybody. We want to see something happen. I don't feel that Russell Martin was the answer. It's a puzzle piece.
It is a puzzle piece. It might not be part of this puzzle package, but it is a puzzle piece. And there's the conversation of, well, that means they're out on JT Realmuto. That is not what that means.
Nope.
It just means that if the Marlins don't ever come down on their asking price, which it's not looking like they will, but it's also not looking like many teams will meet that asking price until, I would say, either at the deadline or right before spring training starts. The Astros might fall for it. That just means that the Dodgers can hold out. If they say, you know what, it's not worth it, we got our catching core, we'll do with it what we will. Mm-hmm. So they could still conceivably go after Realmuto if the price went down, and in which case, either Russell Martin would be out of a job or Austin Barnes would be out of a job.
So before I get to a retort to your statement there, which I think fits nicely from Periscope, I have another one from Periscope. Kenji781 says, guys, I need baseball back.
I feel that.
Pitchers and catchers report less than a month. Frank Talk LA says, roll the squad as is and make adjustments at the deadline. Do you think Friedman can survive that this offseason? At least from the fan standpoint.
I think somebody's gonna hurt him. I don't know, man.
He's seeing it in all of his many burner accounts.
Oh yeah, he's got a ton.
Yeah.
He's got Doyers Please. He's got a couple. He's Farhan's laptop. I'm still pretty sure. He's got a couple of them out there. I think he's Gale. I'm pretty sure Gale is his burner account.
Yeah, we know. Yeah. We love you, Gale. I've talked to Gale on the podcast before, but we still know she's a burner account.
She's definitely a burner account.
Friend of the show.
There's no doubt. No, I don't think. You and I were talking about it a little bit earlier about how
I've never met you before in my life.
Yeah, you're looking. If you're looking at the team you have this year compared to last year, I mean, it's hard to look at that lineup and say this is a better team or even a as good team.
No.
That's a tough pill to swallow. You're relying on a lot of guys to have bounce back years or, in Max Muncy's case, to not regress.
Yeah.
And you're also relying on your star shortstop to come back completely healthy from not just Tommy John, but also a hip surgery, which are both, those are pretty crucial.
Yeah, you kind of need those to play the game of sports.
I've heard it helps to have an arm and a hip. Yeah.
So unless I'm missing someone, I'm sure I am. The offseason in review, which is going to be the source of a lot of people being pretty upset, out are Puig, Kemp, Farmer, Wood, Grandal, Machado. Did I miss anybody? Probably.
On the outs?
Dozier's gone.
Daniel Hudson, if you want to count him. You got Axford, you got Madsen, Tom Kohler, Chase Utley.
I think that's a plus on the Madsen.
You're getting into the real deep parts of things.
In Joe Kelly and now Russell Martin, and then there's Shane Peterson, Paulo Orlando, some Schultz dude. We're about to sign a Taiwanese pitcher.
Adam McCreary.
Yeah, Adam McCreary. Again, not anything where it's like, oh, boy, go start printing up those 2019 books, KP.
Yeah, and if you look at the 40-man roster, a lot of the 40-man roster now is filled in by prospects.
Yeah.
Guys that you're probably going to see called up or that they didn't want to risk losing in Rule 5 draft, guys like that. So that fills out about, I think, 12 or 15 40-man roster spots, like those type of guys. It's a big chunk of it.
So let's see what we got. So Filipino Bueller, friend of the show, what's going on? Does the new Taiwanese guy join the bullpen this season? No, he's 20. He still looks a little raw. I was looking at actually watching some video. Hashtag not a scout here, but I think he's got a plus fastball for sure. I think they're clocking him at like 94, 95, but you can see when that curveball is coming, so they need to do a little bit of work with him. I hope they can get the deal straightened out and get him into camp at least.
That would be great, yeah.
Work with Honey and Mark Pryor. Yeah. I'm excited about that dude. It's like that's going to be one of those – this is what this front office does best, the under-the-radar guys, and that's what I think you mentioned that last week about Max Muncy. It's like the people that you're signing right now that people are upset about, they're going to help you win some ball games.
Yeah,
some point
you might not.
season.
They might not be, the big, flashy, sexy, front of the Sports Illustrated guys.
So we're not getting Bartolo Colon.
I can't say that we're not, but absolutely.
I will flip. I am walking out.
Yeah, but going back to the Taiwanese pitcher, he, looking at his peripherals, they're kind of ugly. He's got a pretty low strikeout percentage. He's got a really high walk rate, but he still had, relatively good stats surrounding that. So that to me is pretty encouraging, and I'm excited to see that guy get to work with this pitching staff.
Yeah, you don't need to strike out everybody to get out of innings. And right. Zachary on the YouTube agrees. Taiwanese pitcher looks exciting. How many years till we can see him? I honestly I don't see. Let's say 2022, you might start to hear the whispers of him getting an invite. He does seem a little bit far off, maybe a little bit sooner. But if you see him this year, he I think he signed for only like $350,000.
Yeah, it's like below league minimum.
It was super cheap. There's not a lot of people that were ultra high on him, but the potential's there. It's going to take some time.
He's throwing 95 at 20 years old, too. Remember that. 20 years old, you go to like Quakes games, these guys are 19, 20. Yeah.
Just like you used to. Just like Mom used to make.
Right remember when I used to throw 90?
Uh-huh. What do we got? So more people on Russell Martin. Roger with a D says, love Russell Martin, but please, this team is woefully incomplete. So today we put out a post that Mr. Diamond Hoggers penned. About how the Shredder MLB Network ranks Justin Turner as the number 2 third baseman in all of baseball, which was surprising, but also like he got what he deserved. Dude's good. The dude put up like almost 4.5 win season in 90 games or 100 games.
Yeah, ridiculous rate.
But the big surprise was Chris Taylor ranking 5th for second baseman. Guys, we have our second baseman already. It's done. That's money in the bank, son. Like, we got this.
Yeah, I want to know how those are factored in.
I think
they're a little.
I think it's just a machine throwing a dart.
Yeah,
like pictures.
Yeah, it's like you pull a knob and it's like Chris Taylor, number 4.
Come on down. You're the next contestant.
I mean,
the Shredder.
I don't know if they're going off of I don't know if they're going off of WAR or what they're going off of here, but Chris Taylor did have a ridiculously high WAR for a guy that felt like he wasn't doing much.
Yeah, 4.1.
4 point something on him?
It was 4.1 from Baseball Ref. The year before it was a 4.8. So it's a pair of really good seasons. Keep in mind that Puig hadn't done that since like his third season. Like he put up like 3 wins and then a pair of 5 wins and then way down. So CT's good. The strikeouts were the big problem, and that burned him pretty hard and burned us pretty hard. But
I'd also like to point out that he only played 12 games at second base.
Yeah, how that happened when I think he's listed as the shortstop for the season.
I think if you walk by it on the way to your position, it technically counts for them. Yeah, that's how they factor in.
I am a second baseman.
Yeah, so I'm a baseball player.
I'm proud of you.
I walk by fields.
We're going to give you a bike bell.
There you go.
So while we figure out some more stuff, guys, we'll go through the questions. But, yeah, send us your questions. Send us your area codes for shout-outs. We want to see where you're living. We want to know your schedule. What time are you home? What time are you gone?
Social security numbers, whatever.
No creeper, I promise you. Getting back into Yasmani. So what was it? He signed for essentially a guaranteed – what was it? A couple like 25 cents more than he would have got from the qualifying offer.
Right. It was very slim. Very slim. And I think, it
was just time.
Somebody said we booed him out of LA. And to be fair, we didn't mean to boo him into Milwaukee. We were trying to boo him to the East Coast. And we were trying to boo him to an AL team. preferably.
He
But,
just wanted to
he
get
did what he
lucky
did.
with Jeremy Jeffress.
That's right. Yeah.
The ultimate, maybe that's two negatives make a positive, I think. Is that what it is?
Yeah, together they're probably
Again,
pretty nice guys.
I don't do math. I don't know. I've never heard of this word, mathemagenics.
Yeah, and we have our own opinions of Yasmani Grandal. We've,
Yeah. As do other people.
Yeah,
You've seen some of the tweets.
We've met him. We've talked to him. We've seen some of the exchanges he's had with people in the media.
People are saying that he's how do I clean it? He's not a friendly fella.
He is a J-E-R...
W.
Drew. He's a jerk. Apparently, he's a jerk. Apparently,
he was not overly enthusiastic to see us at any events that
I wouldn't either. Look at us.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, that doesn't count.
I'm like, man, that guy must have a mean sidearm.
We also saw him when he lost all of his money to Steve Mason of ESPN.
This is true. Mason cleared house.
Mason, if you're out there, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, at Venice Mason.
He was very happy about it.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
He took out Ramona Shelburne. He took
a
out
pregnant Ramona Shelburne, by the way. Pregnant Ramona Shelburne.
You know what? Instead, that's Venice Mace. Go send him some hate mail and like and subscribe to what was the name of their podcast that didn't last?
Breaking Blue.
Breaking Blue. You were like their first big time guest,
and last.
That's what happens when you guys get Brook Me 3.
Yeah, don't put me on the show. It'll ruin your numbers. It's just not good.
Yeah, so I know I'm probably definitely in the minority here, but I'm happy to have, as somebody says, met him at FanFest. He was cool. Maddie says that Grandal was cool. Yeah, he's he's cooler with the fans.
Oh yeah,
we were there as media type folks, so I could understand him not wanting to talk to media.
He was also in the midst of one of his less enjoyable seasons in Los Angeles, so I'm sure if we had met him last year, it might have been a different story. But this year, he kind of hated everybody. It felt like.
Yeah, I get it.
Which is understandable. He got booed way too much for a home crowd. Way too much.
Sort of earned it, but not.
Sort of.
And this is where I've been with people on this, where they're like, oh, how come we're not going out getting a catcher? He was so good, and all that. It's like, I don't know. I kind of want a catcher that I can play on the field in the playoffs, Somebody that's going to play for me the entire season, not somebody we have to bench because they're hitting historically bad. What did he hit? 108 in his Dodger career or something like that in the playoffs?
The playoffs?
Yeah. He was absurdly bad, plus all of the negative defensive runs saved and all that. He didn't get it done. We wish him all of the, I guess, health. I don't wish him the best, but I wish you all the health.
I would like him to lose, yeah.
Yes, we want you guys to lose.
He can drop more balls against us.
Yep.
That'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
He'll probably hit a couple bombs.
As where Russell Martin in his Dodger career has like a 223 average in the postseason. So
he's crushing it.
Not great, but still. It's an improvement. So we're seeing. I got a couple I got to shout out here. I saw. Well, we got Josh 661 Santa Clarita. What's going on? We got CPU Jesse Stockton 209. But I saw some far folks out here. We got 765. We got Indiana in the house. What's going on? Indy 212. What's going on, kids? Thanks for hanging out. 805 Santa Barbara. Kershaw's ERA. Would you be fine with getting Pollock on like a 2-year deal over Harper? You want to take that one?
I feel like Pollock's going to cost more than people think that he's going to cost.
He was looking for a Lorenzo Cain deal.
Yeah, which is like not
$5.80 or $5.90 mil.
I mean, Pollock at his best, yeah, probably Lorenzo Cain-ish numbers, considering it's a little bit later.
When healthy, he's always at his best. But again, the question is health.
Right. I mean, he slides in home plate, breaks like every bone in his body. So it's like I don't know about that.
I mentioned it on the tweeters yesterday. I'm convincing myself. I'm talking myself. Oh, Twitch in the house. What's going on? 303 Denver. What's going on, Perez? I'm forcing myself to be in on AJ Pollock because he does make this current roster better. If you do break it down, and we're going to do that at some point in the coming weeks, but if you do actively break it down, you're going to see that there's almost all lefties in the outfield, and that's a bit of a problem. This team can support having an injured center fielder, as we've done so many times over the last few seasons.
And entire starting rotation, yeah.
Starting rotation. Like, this team can do it. I'm on board for the only thing that's really holding me back is the qualifying offer. You do lose a draft pick. I don't like that. I'm sure I'm one of the few in all of baseball. Rival scouts tell me that's a hold up. But I'm convinced on Pollock. I like him for LA.
Mm-hmm. Will
it happen? Most likely not.
Yeah, and he also does not really hit lefties particularly well.
No,
not for being a righty, which is, take with that what you will, but he's been pretty consistent about hitting right-handed pitching better, which is kind of, that's the Yasiel Puig model. Like, for some reason, that guy just couldn't hit lefties for whatever reason. Whatever.
I can hit lefties on occasion. Softball, we're talking slow pitch softball. I'm in.
Yeah, from both sides. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So I had saw there was a response and then I had forgot about it. So we'll go ahead and move on from that. But I'm seeing we got Monafan 23 403 Calgary, Canada. What's going on, eh?
Calgary.
Thanks for hanging out a boot. Are the Dodgers going to do anything more? Probably. They're eventually going to start playing baseball. That's definitely a thing. That's a thing, right?
I've heard that, yeah.
Can confirm?
Rumors confirm.
Uh-huh. I did see someone ask if we are going to FanFest, and we will be there. Us too. We're going to be there for sure. We're working on some exciting, fun fan engagement stuff and things to make everybody entertained. We're gonna keister in as many of these Bud Lights as we can. We got a blessing from Dieter Rule.
We did, yeah. And
I haven't talked to him about it yet.
If you see us there, we will sign your forehead.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Well, you will. I'll take pictures.
Frankie wants to know before we get into a little ad break. Frankie wants to know, will Grandal put up better numbers than Martin and Barnes combined? Yes.
That's interesting because batting average is a little different. You can't really combining batting average is kind of weird. But
yeah, it depends on what you're talking about.
He's definitely going to hit more home runs than them combined. I'll tell you that.
If you're looking at the old school traditional stats, fair shake is that Yasmani will end up with better numbers. If you're looking at cool people modern stats, I see the OPS plus being much higher between Russell and the other guy.
I agree.
Barnes. I think I've been the guy who's high on Barnes all off season. So
I think you're his only fan, and I feel like you should know that. I feel like we need to point that out.
Well, that's about. We talked a bit about FanFest. That's specifically for you, Tammy and Corona. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks, Tammy, Corona,
and Tulsa, Oklahoma City. By the way, guys, go out and sign out for the Tulsa Drillers newsletter. That's totally a thing.
Tulsa Drillers news. Oh yeah. You're right.
Yeah, I'm totally getting paid by by the Dodgers minor league team.
Yeah.
But also we will be out at spring training like we mentioned last week. We're super excited about it. It's going to be a bunch of the fun. So before we do take a break and bring on Mr. KP Wee, writer of this book right here. He was there. I think he was the guy who hit the home run to beat the other guy.
Yeah, that one team.
He was not the guy. But we will be out there in Arizona, and we are definitely looking forward to it. I do not have my notes prepared because I didn't push the right button in time, but you can see on the screen everything looks pretty. Look at all that stuff. And you guys can come with us too, by the way. So this spring, follow your favorite teams to Arizona for Cactus League Baseball. And of course, by favorite teams, we mean your Los Angeles Dodgers. Amazing weather and landscapes, exciting outdoor adventure, incredible food. Arizona is the perfect home base for baseball fans.
Yeah, 10 stadiums, 15 MLB teams, perfect 75-degree temperatures. All 10 stadiums are within 50 miles of each other in the greater Phoenix area. And the best part is you can meet and actually interact with the players and even get autographs before or after the games. The fan experience truly can't be rivaled when out at spring training.
Absolutely not. And there's just so much to see and do nearby. Arizona is known for, obviously, its incredible landscapes out there, thrilling outdoor adventures. So why not check off a few, the must-see destinations on your bucket list? Grand Canyon's there, Monument Valley, Horseshoe Bend, so many more?
So many more.
I wrote a question mark.
Question mark? There's a little bit of Ron Burgundy there.
I'm Ron Burgundy, and I'll be in Arizona.
You can check out amazing restaurants and bars nearby, including tons of craft breweries like Four Peaks, Angel's Trumpet Ale House, and Goldwater Brewing Company.
And my favorite part of spring training, I will keep mentioning this, and I will drive this home to my grave, breakfast. The breakfast is the most goodest out there. Because then right after you get to go see some baseball in the morning.
Bestest breakfast.
The bestest breakfast. Hey,
there you go.
Restaurant,
yeah.
Ding.
Arizona is super family friendly and with half of the league think about that. Half of the league in town, there's always something to do with the kids and even with grandma. You know, I don't know what grandma likes to do, but there's something to do with grandma.
Leave her in the car. That's so bad.
Check off must-see destinations from your bucket list, like all those ones that we talked about.
So, yeah, plan your spring training getaway now. Visit Arizona.com/spring training. Again, that is Arizona.com/spring training. You can even download the Visit Arizona app on Google Play or the inferior Apple Store. So we're going to take a quickie little break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to KP Wee.
Don't go anywhere.
Don't tell them what to do. And we're back. And joining us here in beautiful DNHQ is author of 1988, Reliving the Championship Season. This book you guys see here on the table, who anybody is watching, we also have had it up on our shelf, our fancy new shelf, brought to you by FRG Co. Mr. KP Wee, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming out, man. Yeah.
Oh,
you only had to come across the street to get here.
That's right. Clint and Brooke, good to be on the show. Thanks for having me on.
I know. Thanks for coming out. So before we get into the book, because of course, I mean, everybody has at least an idea about the 1988 season. We're never able to live it down, which is a good thing. You know, it's still a great team. It's a great story that can not even be, just rehashed, but it can be relived time and time again, because it's just the ultimate Cinderella story in a way. But tell people here about KP Wee.
Well, just a sports fan and writer from Vancouver, Canada, and just happened to make the trip for vacation to Los Angeles this week. So, it's good to be on the show here. And just a sports lover, sports fan. I teach as part of my regular job in Canada, and I do like teaching and writing, so it's it's a good match for me, and just happen to love writing about baseball, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, you wrote about the right team, at least.
And it is a good team,
and he picked the right year too, so we'll give
Absolutely.
him a couple of points on that one. So for people who might be wondering where did this guy come from, we actually met last year at Fred Claire's golf tournament, which was our kind of, I guess for us for the show was the second big event, but it was like the biggest event that we had done to that point because there was just so many legends and Dodgers royalty there. You got Fred Claire, you got Tommy Lasorda there, you have. There's everybody. You have the real FRG there. It's like
that's all that mattered. Yeah,
it's crazy. So that's when we got a chance to pick up a book, and I know our friends over at West Coast Multimedia they did a little spot with you. I never saw if that came out. If not, what's up with that, Tony? Come on, get on the ball. I haven't
friend
seen
of the show, Tony.
I haven't seen him in a minute, but it's super cool. Again, great book, and I know Mr. Brook wanted to talk to you.
I did, yeah. I actually did. So one of the questions that I had was, what made you want to write this book? What was the real inspiration behind the specific 88 Dodgers?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, that team was a true underdog team. Yet I think lots of baseball fans or sports fans probably would think of just Kirk Gibson or Hershiser as the two reasons that team won the championship. And of course, Tommy Lasorda was there as a manager, but when you take a look at any baseball team or any team that wins a championship in any sport, it takes all 25 players to get it done. And we've heard so much about Hershiser and so much about Gibson. Mm-hmm. I thought, and just this book just kind of talked about the whole season and the playoffs and the World Series and the other contributors to that championship, because it was more than just Gibson and Hershiser, and just that's
or even Dennis Eckersley.
Right. That's one of the reasons. And the other one, the bigger one, was Fred Claire, the general manager of that 88 Dodger team. Actually reached out to me. It was in December of 2016. We talked via email, and he kind of planted the idea in my head. Hey, 2018 is the 30th anniversary of the 88 team, and that's the last time the Dodgers, up to that point, had ever been to a World Series. Of course, the 2017 and 18 teams have since made it back to the World Series, but not winning at all.
Thanks for reminding us. We do appreciate it.
Still sore.
I need tears on here, but I only have a boo. Sorry.
And Fred Claire, he kind of gave me that idea, that inspiration. It would be a good time to kind of sit down, write a book about that team, and kind of reflect back, not just for the for the fans, but for the players on that particular team, even the scouts, the coaches, to kind of reflect back on, hey, it's been 28, 29, 30 years since that championship was won. Like, what have the guys on that team, where are they now? What's happened to them? Of course, we know what's happened to Hershiser, Gibson, and so on, but we just wanted to kind of also reach out to the other lesser known players on that team. So Fred Claire kind of was a big part of that. He was an inspiration to how this project got started.
Yeah, Fred has a robust Rolodex, and I'm quite certain he still uses a Rolodex.
I would.
Fred can get down. So with all that, I mean, obviously with that team, there were so many different factors that went into making that 88 championship, more than just the home run and, like you said, and Hershiser's incredible streak. But for you writing it and obviously getting to talk to some of these people, some of you might have not known before, some you may have heard of before, whatever it may be, what was your favorite part? What was the best part of the research and even the interviews during the writing process?
I think just talking to the players and the coaches who still remember all those important moments during the course of that season and the playoffs. And for example, Jay Howell, the closer on that team, was kind of he was kind of a much maligned closer in the playoff run because he had blown a save and given up a game-winning home run to Mark McGwire in Game 3 of the World Series. But he came right back in the fourth game and actually got the last 7 outs, to close out the fourth game, which was a 1-run victory. And
where was he in 2017?
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm back at it.
And of course, the following night, the Dodgers clinched the series in Oakland, and that's kind of been overlooked. It's just that's part of it, and also just kind of thinking back to some of the key moments that I probably have forgotten or didn't even realize. There was even like in the second game of the World Series when Hershiser got a shutout, but also it was I think it was Mike Marshall who hit a 3-run home run to put them up by 5 runs, 5-0 in the third inning. And thinking back to that, perhaps that probably kind of destroyed the Oakland A's morale. Like how are you going to come back? You're going to lose the first 2 games, and now you have to win 4 of the next 5 games to win the World Series. That had to be a heartbreaker in the second game, and that's something that perhaps like the heroics of some of these other players perhaps being overlooked. I think that was kind of the fun thing for me to kind of look back on and kind of ask the questions about when I talk to these former players.
Yeah, that was the funny thing about that team in that season that a lot of people will possibly forget. Mainly, I guess we can say that series is just there were a number of those like knockout blows for Oakland. They had hit the grand slam in game 1. It's like, oh, here we go. This is it. This is what was supposed to happen. There's no way we're gonna beat the mighty Mets and the mighty A's in this postseason. And then you come back, you're able to put it up. And I wanted to ask you because we had a chance to interview him, and he's still an amazing spirit, great dude, the de facto leader of the stuntmen, Mickey Hatcher. Just the fun in that, like that dude is still crazy. That had to be fun to write about.
Well, yeah, and actually I had a chance to speak with him, for this book, and and you think back to that. He was a guy who started his career with the Dodgers. He was traded to the Minnesota Twins prior to the '81 season, so he missed out on that '81 championship. And also, he played 6 seasons with the Twins, got released before the '87 season, and that was the year that the Twins won that World Series. And he was basically, he was signed by Fred Clare for the '87 Dodgers and went on to get his first ring in '88. And of course, he then, I believe, had another ring with the Angels as a coach.
Yeah.
But just that World Series for him, filling in for Kurt Gibson, that was probably the best 5-game series of his of his career. And then he was able to hit a couple of key home runs in that series, and just basically be the leader offensively when they really needed runs being scored. And home run in the first game and the 5th game, and just playing inspired baseball that had to kind of rub off on the rest of the team, you would think.
And it was funny for him too, because that's what we talked about. Funny enough, when we did talk to Fred earlier last season, he was talking about how that was pretty much his first transaction. He went in, talked to ownership, he went to talk to Peter O'Malley, and was like, hey, I have this idea. I want to release a guy. We owe him $1 million. I'm going to release Jerry Royce, and I want to go pick up this guy off the scrap heap. And they're like this is what you want to do. So I was like, that was funny for us, like to experience that. But it played out. That was
it did.
It really worked out for the guy.
If you saw that episode, it worked out pretty well. Yeah.
We saw that. That's I think like episode 4 of Blue Heaven Podcast.
So KP, you spent all this time researching this championship team, hours and hours and weeks of research and interviews and phone calls and emails, I'm sure, all these things. When are we going to break this streak? That's the real question I have for you. When are we going to break this streak?
I'm sorry to break your hearts, but I don't see it happening this year.
Oh, there it is.
Didn't you hear?
Straight from the source.
Chris Taylor's the number 5 ranked second baseman in baseball right now.
It's hard enough to make it, to back-to-back World Series and having to make it to a 3rd consecutive series.
Yeah.
I don't think even the Atlanta Braves did that, did they? I don't think they did.
No, they couldn't quite pull that streak off. Not that I can recall.
Back-to-back appearances, and you have the Cubs in the National League still. You have other teams perhaps. It seems like, unless they are able to make like some key transitions, pickups, and I know fans are still upset about the Puig trade. That count the way you guys touched on that earlier in the show.
Yeah.
Obviously, some moves have to be made, and I think that when the trade with Cincinnati was made in December, I think a lot of fans were excited because it looked like there's
Next is Harper.
Harper.
Next has got to be Harper.
But we'll have to see what happens. The rest of I guess the off season, and see what other moves are gonna happen. But I do kind of like the Russell Martin trade. I think you guys touched on it earlier. Top 10 in pitch framing,
which plays up so much in this day and age of the game.
And I believe he's a good clubhouse leader, a veteran guy, and you have a guy like that. You don't need him to be an offensive player, as long as he's able to contribute as defensively. That's what you're looking for. At the catcher position, of course.
Yeah, I think so much of baseball has gotten kind of what's the word I'm looking for? We've gotten blessed with a decent offensive catcher phase of the game, which it's not really made to be that. They call it the tools of ignorance. You're down there, you're squatting down, your parts hurt. Like, you're not made. Humans aren't made to be squatting for 9 innings or 18 innings if you're playing in Game 3. So yeah, I really do think that Martin just plays up. He gets a different dynamic. He's a dude who's been there with this team before, and you know what? If he doesn't work, we go pick up James Loney in 2020.
That's all that matters.
Just getting the boys back together. You got to make it happen.
Get the band back together.
Getting the band back together. Well, back to the book. I think that's the main thing. We're not here to talk so much about the future, guys. We're talking about 1988. That's what we're here for. Number one, you got to tell people where they can pick up a copy.
Right. This can be picked up on any online bookstore, such as Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble. I've heard that they are available in some stores, but definitely Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, those are a couple of great places to pick up the book. And also the publisher is Roman and Littlefield. And I can pass along a discount code to you guys later on at the end of the show that you can
we'll plug that in. Perfect. Yeah, we'll plug that into because I'd asked you before,
right?
And I couldn't get that into the live stream section. But even so, people aren't going to have the time to get out the pen and paper and write it all out. But yeah, we can plug that into the post on our website, DodgersNation.com. Make sure you guys check it out and give me a coin. I'm getting paid, son. But yeah, that's cool. I think there's a solid discount code because I did see the some of the PDF material there. That looks awesome. Of course, available hardback. This is really cool book. It's great for any collection. We do want to add up here. So your next book, you have to send it over so we can throw that up there. Or any baseball books, guys. If you have any fun reading material, magazines, Nudie magazine.
I know how to read.
He knows how to read. He's read once or twice.
Once or twice.
We did speak beforehand, although we didn't quite set this up properly. So if it crashes and burns, then it worked out well. We do want to try to figure out a way to give away a copy during the stream.
Okay.
So let's say, hey, producer, what's the best way to do it? Should we have people go follow him?
Follow KPW and then just reply to the tweet.
There you go.
There you go. So
anybody who didn't hear that, Brooke's going to tell you.
You can find him on Twitter at KPWee. That's with 2 E's, 1.
It's KPW1, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Right,
yes.
right. And make sure you follow him and make sure you reply to the tweet.
Yeah, there you go. You throw out we'll have the tweet. We could retweet it, and you guys will find it, and you guys can get a free book. Again, it's a really pretty book, and it's the last time something really, really good happened for the Dodgers.
It's been a long time since anything good happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
But since he's here, that's it. It's got to break the streak, right?
He's a stump breaker. He officially said that it wasn't going to happen this year, so that's straight from the source.
Although I'm not that good with making predictions, I should say.
Well, we're going to learn today, let me tell you.
I do hope you're wrong. I will say that. Yeah.
So let's see. We do have some. We'll keep you around here for a little bit. We'll take some questions. Obviously, you still know enough about the modern team. You're watching it. You know Russell Martin's here, and we're happy. Of course, he's another Canadian boy, so you're going to pay attention to that. But Adrian 416 on Twitch asks, who would need to step up this season in order to have that World Series three-peat? What do you guys think?
Who's the key cog for 2019?
Well, if they do make it to the playoffs, Kershaw has to pitch better. Yeah.
You're just hitting all those points.
Yeah.
That was my guy.
You really know how to poke all of us.
Yeah, that is at KP1.
Yeah. For me, I'm gonna say, we're gonna at Diamond Hoggers. This is for you. I think Cody Bellinger is gonna need to seriously turn his swing around.
Yeah, he's gonna need to stop being wishy-washy.
He's a little wishy-washy. Yeah.
Oh man! So also, I did see someone say, Tia Kings said Waffle House is another great breakfast spot out there in Arizona. Definitely highly recommended to go there. Let's see. Do we see Kershaw's ERA? Do we see Urias in the bullpen or the rotation on opening day? Boys, gents, Brooke, you want to take that one?
I think he's gonna be in the bullpen for a little while. I think it's going to be the same situation as last year where, it's a little different because Walker Buehler was in the minor leagues. There wasn't a need for him immediately right away because I think we had like 38 starting pitchers or something. Something close to that. I don't know what the exact number was. But literally the entire starting rotation, all went down.
The only guy who had stayed healthy was Alex Wood, and that was the guy all offseason. I was saying, please get rid of him.
Right. Yeah, there's one guy. And then they had Ross Stripling we need you to come in from the bullpen now because our starting rotation kind of fell off. And then, Walker Buehler showed up. I think it'll be the same case with Julio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think he'll end up in the rotation.
Personally, I think he'll end up in the rotation too, in AAA for opening day. That's where it's going to be. You got any thoughts on Julio?
I think opening day he'd probably be in the bullpen, I would say, similar to last season.
Get a more major league innings. I mean, you could see it. It's a bad problem. It's a great problem, I should say. A great problem to have when anybody can have the talent.
Oh, yeah. Having a surplus of talent is always good.
People forget about just how incredibly good that kid. That kid had way more fanfare than Walker Buehler had when he came up. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, he didn't do the same thing starting wise that
immediately,
Walker did.
no,
But
no.
All right, so we got Periscope asking. That's a weird name asking. Where's Machado going? To a baseball team.
He's probably going to play on a baseball team. Yes.
Sources tell me.
At this point, he could end up anywhere. I mean, your guess is as good as mine now because people have narrowed it down to the White Sox and Phillies, and the Phillies can talk a big game all they want, but at the end of the day, they're going for Mike Trout when he becomes a free agent. So I just don't see them spending that. Some people are saying Harper and Machado are going to Philadelphia, which would be awesome to see all that money poured into two guys for 10 or 12 years or whatever it is. I mean, that's a huge investment for a team. I can't even fathom that. I can't imagine anybody going for that.
You know what they say? You only need two players to win a championship.
Yeah.
Hold on. Wait. I'm hearing. No, that's.
I'm being told you can't buy a World Series.
Oh, somebody should have. I guess Molly Knight confirmed that actually.
She did, yeah.
AJ Gonzalez, we have a series of questions here for KP. AJ asked, "Did you interview Steve Sachs?" Just wondering because I met him and he's an interesting personality before. Haha.
Absolutely, and Steve.
That was the verbatim quote.
Steve Sachs is a great interview. Actually, the funny story about that was he's a motivational speaker right now, and I believe he was on his way to a speaking gig. He asked me to give him a call, and I think it was 6:30 in the morning, and he's also out on the West Coast. So 6:30 in the morning, and we were doing this interview by phone, and I can hear him walking into his speaking engagement venue, and he was saying hi to different people. So it's you can describe him as a kind of like a energizer bunny, perhaps. He's got a lot of energy, a lot of just from even the way that he was as a player, on the Dodgers, he was like a kind of like an emotional leader in that way, like an energetic kind of personality. And yeah, it was pretty interesting to talk to him, and I know he has a kind of a busy schedule, so the fact that he took the time to respond to me and talk about the 88 team, I thought that was fantastic and kind of awesome.
Awesome. I never met the guy, haven't had a chance to interview the guy, but you see interviews with him. Obviously, they I think Sportsnet did a series, and I believe he was on there. But even so, even seeing him when he was a coach with the Diamondbacks, the last a few seasons back, just genuinely good dude, as most of the players on that team were. Not this guy because he wasn't there. But just
I was not there.
You were not there.
Something about -5.
Yeah,
he was -5, so he was
I was
there.
getting ready to reap the benefits.
No. Since you, it's all been.
No, you should hear the things people say to me on Twitter. You weren't alive for their last World Series, and I'm like, I can still be a fan.
I know, right?
What does that mean?
It's like
I think that's great. A lot of fans are kind of not familiar with the history of the favorite team, so that's a good thing for Brooke. I like that.
Yeah, I grew up during the McCourt era, which was it's not the ideal time to become a Dodger fan. It was pretty rough.
Everything was great, and then it was just like bawoosh.
Yeah, it took a little bit of a dive, and that was when that's probably when I first really started seriously getting into baseball. Probably about that time.
Right.
So, I got to see the Matt Kemps and the Andre Ethiers and the Russell Martins and the Kershaw starting off. And
you get to see all the 05 Jacksonville Suns.
Yeah.
That's actually a story I had. I'm going to, upcoming Throwback Thursday, I do have a picture of me and Russell Martin from 2007. So
is that when you had your hair?
That is when I did have my hair, by the way. The hair was still there. So a couple points for the hair, a couple of those. And rest in peace, hair. But I do remember the 05. This is my time to talk, guys. Zoom in on me. Between the 05-06 off season, I remember going to I forgot what they used to call it. It was like the different version of the Fan Fest, and they used to go out and actually fans could get there, and it was out at places. This particular one was at Universal City Walk. And I knew who Russell Martin was, which is before the time that people really knew who minor leaguers was. And Russ, of course, was coming off the year where the Double-A Jacksonville Suns won everything. They won the championship, and that was a team that had James Loney and Chad Billingsley, the guy we're talking about, all that. A really good time, good team. So, anyways, they're showing the highlights of the 05 season, and anybody who can process and remember the 2005 Dodgers season, you would know there weren't many highlights for that season. Anyways, so I'm right there. The velvet rope was blocking Russell Martin from me, and I told him like, "Hey, Russ, we're gonna see you up on that board next year." And he's like, "Oh yeah."
Oh yeah, he was confident. He knew.
Cocky dude, like 21-year-old. And then he got called
kids.
up. What was that, Cinco de Mayo that year?
Party time. Party time.
Delicious. Another question, Paul Fitzpatrick for UKP. He says he was at Game 1. A lot of people do not realize that Mike Davis was nearly picked off just a little bit before the home run. Do you have an opinion on the Kirk Gibson at bat?
As a whole,
just the entire bat. Most of the time, the highlight is
it was a long at bat.
Yeah, he just walked up and hit a home run. That didn't actually happen.
Just the fact that when it was 3-2 count, the fact that he was, I guess, in tune enough to kind of step out of the box and kind of think back to what the scout Mel Dedier had spoken to the guys, to the left-handed hitters on that team during the team meetings that. Something like partner.
Partner, as soon as I'm standing here.
Yes, that's right. You know that quote. If it's 3-2, that backdoor slider is coming from Eckersley. And the fact that in that heat of the moment that Gibson was able to do that and think about what the scouting report was and being able to actually hit that home run. And that was just, it's still... that at bat or that home run is still the number one sports moment in LA history, in LA sports history. Yeah, and just I think anytime I get to see that on TV or on the video, it just sends. I just have goosebumps. I think it's
it's still cool for me. It's right up there near the top. I think number one for me is Shaq saying, "Who can you take it?" and then Mark Madsen very uncomfortably saying, "Who let the dogs out?" And then Kirk Gibson,
legendary,
right
legendary,
yeah. And also the honorable mention to that guy who flipped over the cop car, or the fans that flipped over the cop car for the '99
Good
championship.
Times. Yeah, going back to that, Kirk Gibson recognizing the scouting report at a time like that, I can say very confidently when I have a full count in my slow pitch softball league, I'm not thinking about the scouting reports on the field, so. Real big league move.
You just get out there and take daddy hacks. That's the way. That's the way Dieter
I swing
rule.
as hard as I possibly can, and it's usually a pop up. So just
friend of the show, Dieter Rule. He goes out there just mad swinging hard, and
but always friendly.
Yeah.
He's smiling the whole time.
Smiling the whole time while he's angry swinging.
If I can add another point to that, just from speaking to a couple of reporters who were in the press box that night, I think the whole press box, they were like, wow, Kirk Gibson's actually coming to bat. They were kind of like, wow, like you think like something dramatic is going to happen, either like a big strikeout to end the game, or something like that might happen. So it was just like a captivating moment, just even for those guys up in the press box that night.
Yeah. I remember, what was that? That Costas was the big one covering the story on the field, and that was a big time fun fodder for Tommy. So thank you, Bob, still for that World Series. Lakers 3P wants us to. I see the name popping up a lot. It says, where did I see it? It's they need to go out and get Manny Machado, Bryce Harper, Corey Kluber, and JT Realmuto. All right, well, you guys, you heard it here first. That's going to happen. It's on Blue Heaven Podcast. Let's see. We got 2 more for you. Directly from Mr. KP. Did you ever find out who the driver was of the car behind right field with the red lights?
The guy who left way too early.
Yeah, did you interview that guy?
I know.
Oh man, I would love to hear from that.
It was
that guy.
Not available.
You know that guy is like, I'm not telling anybody that was me ever for life.
Oh man, the last one. I think this will be a fun one because again, having just very recently written about the team, this particular team, the last championship team, and then right before the Dodgers hit this point where now they're in back-to-back World Series, thanks to you specifically. So we do thank you. We'll give applause on that. I didn't see who it was from, but are there any similarities to today's Dodger team, and what do you kind of see as some of the differences potentially? That one's probably a little harder, but just the similarities.
I would say they have an ace in Kershaw. He just has to put it together in the postseason. I think like a leader on that team, and also on the 88 team, there were guys like Tim Leary and Tim Belcher, guys that actually were hard throwers and could go a lot of innings and keep the team in the game. I think the pitching staff that the Dodgers have had recently, like with Rich Hill, with Walker Buehler, and all the guys, they're so deep that some of the starters had to go to the bullpen, when healthier guys came back. So I think the pitching aligns very well. Like they just have to go and get it done. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to bring up the negative stuff.
It's a positive show, KP. Come on.
I mean, even in '88 when they made an acquisition to bring in John Tudor, a left-hander from St. Louis, he was injured during the playoffs, and he suffered what could have been a career-ending injury. Guys stepped up and filled in, like Tim Leary. I think pitched 6 1/3 innings in that World Series in relief. Picking up the guys that couldn't go deep in ball games. And you had, of course, in 2017 when. I don't want to say his name. Yu Darvish.
This is a family show. Watch those curse words over here.
A big late season acquisition. You just need to step up and deliver in the big moments. And I see the similarities in the pitching staff in that way. Just that you expect those guys to be able to get it done. They just haven't. That's a big part of it. And in terms of I think that's probably the biggest thing. And who's the leader? Who's the I guess the spiritual leader on the current Dodgers?
No, it's Kike. No, Rich Hill. You guys let us know who's the spiritual leader of the 2018 or 2019 Dodgers. Is it Kike?
It's a new year. Yeah.
Because on the 88 Dodgers, you had Kirk Gibson, you had Steve Sachs, you had Mickey Hatcher. A lot of the guys that
might be Russell Martin now.
A lot of the guys that perhaps
got to be injured. Yeah,
were not big offensive superstars, not Hall of Famers, but they kind of led by example.
Right.
They showed the rookies or the young players how it was done. Rick Dempsey, for example, the backup catcher that year, he was signed in the off season, just right before the start of the regular season. And from what I understand, he kind of took Tim Belcher, a rookie pitcher, and also Jeff Hamilton, a young third baseman, under his wing, and kind of taught them what it's like, how to perform or how to act or behave, in the big leagues. And I think I think maybe guys like that who provide good leadership, with whether it was a Dempsey or Hershiser on the pitching staff, Gibson, Sachs, and Hatcher, like those types of players. So that brings me back to the original question. Yeah. Do we have that on the current Dodger teams? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna find out. You know, it's funny when you're talking about, you know, the postseason, or maybe just specifically the World Series that Tim Leary had, and now the Dodgers just signed a guy who put up, you know, I think it was a big 6 innings and 10 strikeouts and got a whole bunch of money. So Tim might have pitched about 30 years too early. So he missed out on the $25 million. But Joe Kelly is that same guy. He just had that huge postseason, and you could see how much that type of stuff will play up. So that does make a big difference to have those key role players, and not just a bunch of bodies platooning, which has been, I think, the problem
A little bit,
for the last couple of years.
Yeah, who was the World Series MVP last year?
Not me, that's for sure.
Not I.
Well, one of the under the radar late season pickups by the Red Sox.
Yeah, Steve Pearce, and then he went and got a deal. And you know who's gonna be the series MVP this year? Visit Arizona.com. Wait, they didn't pay for that.
That didn't come in yet. That's extra.
Hey, well, that's what they call me. They do call me extra.
Right.
Someone does say, "Are you guys going to drink your beer? Your beer's getting hot." Jose, that is a good point. So it's about time we do hit the wrap it up button. KP, thanks for coming out.
Thank you for having me on.
In-studio audience applauds like nobody's business. And again, you guys can pick up that book. It's all over the Amazon. It's hardback, and it's on Kindle. So you can even listen to it or read it here on my soundboard.
You can also find it on our Twitter, which is going to be, we're going to be tweeting it out over the next couple hours. Probably you're going to see it around.
Look out for the giveaway.
Look out for the giveaway.
Anyways, so find us, DodgersNation.com. It's where you can find all of our swell stuff. That guy, he lives there, literally lives there.
Right here?
Yeah. No, you live at, this is DNHQ. You live in the internet.
Yeah.
You
I live in the internet.
Subscribe to Blue Heaven on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, the big one, my favorite, Spotify. I do love Spotify. Player FM, so many more. You can find us all over the internet machine.
You can also find us individually at our Instagram and Twitters. I am BrookMe3 at BrookMe3. This over here is at RealFRG. You can also find our guests at KPWE with 2 E's, 1 KPWE with 1. There you go. The E's are really throwing me off there.
KPWE with 1 E. I was very
2
confused.
E's. There you go. Huge thank you to our crack production team over here. We got a lot of solid guys here. You can find them over there at Zed James and at Mr. Gary Lee. Thank you to our guest again so much for coming out.
Yeah, and we will see you next Tuesday. It's sort of play on words.
Yeah.
My computer's struggling. All right, bye, guys.